Come on, 2, 3.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN Weekly for Saturday, March 5th, 2022. Well, it's been another great week of shows here at BRN. We kicked off the week with a look at how you can make your gas go a little further. Let's take a look.
Well, you're right. Gas prices have been going up. As we speak, the national average is $3.57, and that went up just 3 cents overnight. And 3 cents in one night, that's a lot. Usually, I might see a penny a day, maybe difference. And a lot of times it's kind of flat. But 3 cents overnight, that's noticeable. And it can all be attributed to the surge in oil prices, because the cost of oil accounts for about 50% of what you pay at the pump. So the more expensive a barrel of oil is, the more expensive your gasoline is going to be. When you're talking about gasoline prices that are moving upwards because of the global price of oil. But some of the things you can do is, if you have, say, more than one car, try and use the car that has the best fuel efficiency, that gets the best gas mileage. If you have if you got a Prius and an SUV, now would be the time to be driving the Prius around. Some other factors you could do is check your tires, make sure that tire pressure is correct. And I like to tell people, if you can't remember the last time you checked your tires, your tire pressure is going to be low. So, get out the old tire gauge, check it. Do it when it's cold. Don't do it after you've been driving around running errands. And you can check to see what the proper pressure should be, because there's that little sticker inside of your driver's side door jamb. Some makes and models will put it inside of the gas cap, but otherwise it'll be on that little sticker on your door jamb, and it'll tell you what the correct PSI should be. Well, Jeffrey, there's a fifth season, and we like to call that season pothole season. And for a lot of this country, we're beginning to get into pothole season. And it depends on where you live and what your temperatures and snow levels are like. So it's sort of a rolling 8-week period that's pothole season, but we're getting into it now. And basically what that is just as the snow melts, but you still have this sort of evening freezes, you'll begin to get the moisture that gets into those cracks in the pavement, and then it freezes, and then that thawing and refreezing begins to crack and crumble the pavement, and that's how potholes start to develop. And the problem with potholes is your car runs into the pothole, and that causes a lot of damage. And we have some new eye-popping numbers about just how much damage that causes. Get this, you're gonna love this, Jeffrey. In 2021 alone, potholes cost the American driver $26.5 billion. That's $1 billion, Jeffrey. So that's on average about $600 per repair. And the average person hits not one pothole that requires repairs, but 2 potholes that require repairs a year. You'd think that trying to get Congress to address our nation's infrastructure wouldn't be that hard. Well, guess again. It has been a real labor to get them to focus on this, but they finally got it done this year. And that's going to mean a lot of money flowing to the states. And with a little bit of luck, they're going to be putting it toward filling those potholes, towards making those roads better and safer, because potholes aren't just a bummer when you hit them and it causes a lot of wheel damage and alignment issues. They're a safety hazard because some people may swerve around those potholes. Well, the problem when you're swerving is you're going into somebody else's lane. There could be a bicyclist there. It could be a pedestrian there. Potholes are a really big safety issue as well. So that's one of the issues where the infrastructure bill is really going to come in handy, because a lot of folks think infrastructure is like railroads or a big bridge, but it's all of those things. But it's the little things too, like that ornery pothole in the road.
We also discussed rising long-term care costs and how you can manage them long-term. Let's take a look.
Long-term care insurance is insurance that either provides reimbursement or direct funds to offset the cost or to reimburse for the cost incurred for long-term care services. that are provided. Long-term care services are essentially standby assistance for people, primarily elderly people, but not exclusively so, who need help with what they call activities of daily living. Activities of daily living can include bathing, continence, eating, dressing, transferring, toileting, things of that nature that are brought about by either medical or physical distress or cognitive impairment, the most common of which I guess we all refer to as Alzheimer's disease. So these are relatively new products, probably no more than 25 or so years old, maybe a little bit older, but they're coming to the fore very much now as these types of expenses are becoming very, very costly, and we've got to find a way to meet them in one way or another.
Yeah.
So that's just a real high-level overview. This is really more of a planning issue than just an insurance issue, and it's a long-term issue. For people your age, Jeff, or people modestly older, these events are not likely to take place for ideally 20, 30, or hopefully never, but 20, 30, 40 years downstream. But the problem is you can't buy these types of products the day before you need them. You've got to buy them and plan for these type of contingencies in the future. What impact will they have on your finances? What impact will they have on your retirement planning if you get the retirement before you incur one of these issues? So these are matters that take a lot of thought and a lot of discussion. There are several, but not many, insurance carriers that sell group type employer-sponsored long-term care benefits. They tend to be limited in their scope. They tend to be relatively affordable. I'd say most often they're offered as sort of a voluntary or an optional benefit to employees. They're not typically employer paid. But they are out there. But more commonly, you're going to work through some sort of financial advisor, whether that's an RIA, a registered investment advisor, whether that's an insurance broker, whether that's a financial planner. Regardless, that's how you're going to get access to this type of information and these types of products more often than not. I think back to when I bought my long-term care policy, which was at age 50. And here we are, I won't tell you how many, but quite a few years later. And I bought mine from a major insurance carrier who's still somewhat active in that marketplace, although not as active as they once were. And I've seen at least, I'd say, 3 or 4 rate increases since I bought the policy. And I'm likely to see more because utilization is way beyond the initial expectations. And so insurance companies have the right under most freestanding long-term care policies to raise rates by petitioning their respective state insurance departments for rate increases. So I've just gone through another one over the past 2 years, and I'm anticipating there'll be more in the future. Having said that, the cost of my policy today, if I could go to the market and replace it today with equivalent benefits, would likely be 5 times higher than what I'm paying. So I still have a good deal, but if I were to go to the market today, if I could qualify and find a carrier to sell me a product, it would be 4 or 5 times higher than what I'm paying today. Very expensive.
Well, we're halfway through. When we come back, we'll take a look at the other half of a great week of shows. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN Weekly. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We also discussed how pet care and volunteerism can delay cognitive decline. Let's take a look.
Yeah, so we were privately founded in 1927. Our founder's name is Elsie Seeger Barton. She pretty much dedicated her lifelong mission to helping and saving unwanted animals. So we're getting close to being in operation for almost 100 years. The shelter accepts owner-surrendered pets. So right now we do accept dogs, cats, and small animals, and offer several other services for pets as well. We were very, very fortunate. We thought the pandemic was going to cause an influx of owner surrenders and we were going to have many long-term residents, but we saw actually the opposite, which was a huge desire for adoption. So we've been very fortunate that the animals here have moved very quickly out of the system into new homes. That being said, the pandemic has naturally impacted us financially. We've seen less in-kind and monetary donations come in, but from the animal standpoint, we've been very fortunate that they've found homes very quickly. I could say there was definitely a desire to come out and spend time with animals and learn more about adoption and bring an animal into the home. So I think we were pretty fortunate that that did not deter people from wanting to come to the shelter and see the animals. Our organization is strictly a nonprofit organization, so we run solely off of monetary donations. So without people's donations, we can't operate as an organization. So there's several ways of donating, one being going on our website and being able to donate through the website. We also always need in-kind donations. So there's many items that the shelter needs, whether it's food or cat litter, that helps definitely financially, and that goes all of the donations, whether it's monetary or in kind, goes directly towards the care of the animals here. There's been really great studies that have shown that it decreases blood pressure. I can say that my animals are my one consistent thing, when, especially in a pandemic, when everything's changing, they're always there, and it's great after a long day just to be able to spend time with them. So there's great physical and mental benefits for owning a pet. So we have an application process that can be started on our website, or when those looking to adopt come into the shelter can fill one out here. The application process takes about 24 to 48 hours for us to process. There is some basic background checking. We have all of our applicants meet with an adoption counselor just to set everyone up to succeed when bringing a new pet into the home. And then we schedule a time for them to take their pet into the new home. It's hard to pick just one, but the staff and volunteers here work individually with each applicant just to get a feel for what their lifestyle's like, what type of personalities they're looking for in a pet. And then we introduce them to several pets. And usually when you find your pet, you kind of know. You get that connection pretty quickly. Also, there's a little saying that they choose you. So sometimes even just the way they look at you or interact with you, you kind of know that that's the one for you.
And lastly, we got an update on what investors think about ESG investing. Let's take a look.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about our fourth quarter poll from 2021. It was conducted in mid-November. And we interviewed enough Americans to get just close to 1,000 national adults who meet our criteria of investors, which is having at least $10,000 in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, either within or outside a retirement account. I don't mean any of this to minimize ESG or the importance of it, or really the importance to investors. But what we've seen time and again, because we've been pulling on it pretty frequently for 2 years now, because we know it's in the news, we know the investment community is talking about it and wanted to know, well, what does the average investor think about this? And so they're just not that aware of it, really, is what it comes down to. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go finish your thought.
Yeah, they're just not aware of it, is the basic point that in our data. And we'll get into it when we talk, but they're interested in the concepts. It's, at least a majority are, if not all of them, are interested in pursuing ESG goals with their investments. But as I said, they haven't thought about it, hasn't occurred to them. And we also know from other research that we've done that, investing is hard. Most people, are told to set it and forget it. Most people have a 401k with maybe a target date fund. They're really not in there with, getting their hands dirty, changing their investments. So I think we have to be practical about what's realistic for the average investor to do. To some people, it's just kind of like do good investing. If I'm going to put this money with a company, I want to make sure I put it with a company that represents my values, that's doing good in the world, and I don't want to put it with companies that I disagree with. And we see that in the data that investors like the idea of putting the money to support good causes and don't want to put money where they think it's doing harm. But then there is this whole other layer of, for instance, corporate governance. I think that's probably very hard for the average investor to get their head around, but that actually can reduce risk, right? If you are investing with companies that have good corporate governance and transparency and good ethics, you're not going to end up with an Enron, situation. So there's a whole range from being very altruistic to be very, very selfish, really, about caring about these things when you're making these ESG decisions. Investors have to weigh what's the best for my portfolio, and as we saw in the research, the number one thing that they're focused on when we say what is it you spend time researching before you make an investment is the outlook for gains, for profit, and the potential for risk. And then the rating of the ESG factors, whether a company is doing environmental sustainable things or socially responsible or good corporate governance, well, that's kind of lower down. You ask them about it, half say, yeah, that's important. But 80-90% are saying, potential gains are more important. So that's the priority, is they're putting this money away for their retirement for the most part, and they want to make sure they're making the right financial decisions. Now, if they can do good in the world at the same time, why not? And we've asked separately whether investors think that ESG funds perform better than, at par, or worse than the market average. And the majority think, it's on average with the market. So most don't see it as a liability to be investing in socially responsible funds. But on the margins, very few think they perform better. You've got maybe a quarter thinking they perform worse. So there is a little bit of a tail on that might be slowing people down from moving into them. But most, I think, can be persuaded by a financial advisor or whoever that it makes sense to be in these funds because they're not going to do no harm.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN Weekly. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news in lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to see our latest content? Search our archives. Well, check out our website. That's www.broadcastretirementnetwork.com. Should be right below. and our streaming partners like Amazon, Roku, Samsung, and over 100 more. We're back again tomorrow for BRN Sunday. I'll be joined by members of the media, academia, and financial services as we analyze all the news and events for the week. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.